we are setting the stage for this video today. It is a powerful topic. I've got my music, I've got my coffee. All right, so on the topic of confidence, this is what I have to say. Am I an expert? Absolutely not, but I am someone who has been in the healing realms for a long time, and I have to say that I am supremely introverted in the sense that basically the 28 years of my life that I've lived so far, the past 10 have been spent in deep search of understanding people better and what they need and what people are missing in this society right now. We all want to feel like we are living in alignment with our truth and what makes us happy, but the issue is often not in our desire and belief that we can do that, but it's more so in trying to figure out what we are even looking for. In a world that is filled with distractions and constantly plummeting different ideas at you of what is correct, what is best, being able to actually decide for ourselves is one of the greatest things that we can ever learn to do. There are 3 things that I think are most important in your journey towards being a more confident, empowered person. 1, you need to make time to listen. 2, what you hear when you get quiet and when you ask yourself these questions. Oftentimes what we hear can feel really challenging because it opens up a whole doorway of all the things in life that might require change, adjustment, shifting, loss, but ultimately growth and true success. And so the thing is, we will hear, but what we hear isn't necessarily comforting to us, and it really stirs the pot, so then we don't listen to it. And then we act like we don't know. In actuality, we do know, but we've just been suppressing the truth. That leads to 3, which is have the courage to act. As we act on what we want in life, it gains momentum and it creates inspiration and joy, and we begin to see how many levels of support there are out there for us. What a safety net there is for every time that we jump and we take risks in accordance with living a life more in alignment with who we are and what we want. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. So get cozy, get your drink, light a candle. This story is going to take us all the way back to 10 years ago, just about. I was about 18 years old, little old me. I had just graduated high school. I was beginning to ask myself all the major questions of what am I going to do with my life? What are my dreams? What do I do? And this is an incredibly paralyzing and pressure-filled way to be as a young person. I think we live our entire lives asking ourselves these questions, and it's so okay to be on a constant journey of unraveling the answers. So basically, I was at a point where I felt completely lost and unsure of what I wanted to do with my life, which led to a lot of depression and sadness around not understanding why I couldn't make decisions about my own life. You know, like, we're supposed to be the authority in who we are as individuals, and the feeling of not knowing what you want or like what to do is a really frustrating way to feel. So if this is something you're going through right now, I have so much compassion for you, and go ahead and just continue watching, because you do have the capability to have clarity and to take action on your life and feel better. So I was really distracted. I was filling my time by going out, hanging out with lots of people, just being completely stimulated by the external world. The reasonable and logical thing to do was to go get my bachelor's degree, even though I completely did not enjoy school. It was not something that I felt was right for me, but according to what everybody else does, that kind of seemed like my only option. We might think that we don't know what to do with our lives and we don't know what interests us, but we do. It's just become so covered up by distractions and external opinions and the fact that it seems very impossible for us to listen to these dreams, so we just completely suppress them. So for example, in my own life, I always growing up was so interested in being a healer. I knew that I was gifted, and I would meditate and read so many books about energy healing and spirituality and self-development. However, it was so obscure. Like, it was such a weird thing to be interested in. This was back in like the early mid 2000s, and the way this has become so popularized is not the way it was then. So it very much so felt like a very black sheep thing to be interested in, and I definitely didn't think that you could make a living out of the holistic health realm and uniting mind, body, and spirit. So I never paid it any mind. I would feel these things, and then I would think, oh no, I can't do that though, or that's impossible. That would lead to failure. And so I would tuck those truths away. After doing that for long enough, I had convinced myself that I just didn't know what to do with my life. When in actuality, I always knew what I was interested in, but I just never allowed it space to breathe and space to grow. So I basically convinced myself that it would be so cool to go to my local university and study social work. I knew deep down that I was kind of settling by making this choice, and that it didn't really feel right for me. However, there was so much relief in me just deciding and feeling like I had a path and I had something to tell people that was pleasing and the conventional thing to do. So that's what I did. I got a letter in the mail from the university, and I remember feeling so much joy and excitement to open it. I'm just so deeply wanting to get accepted. As soon as I read those words, Lauren, you've been accepted, loud and clear, a voice in my head went, no. I will never forget that moment, because nothing like that had ever happened to me before. It completely came from somewhere other than me. And that voice saying no, I could never ignore that, because it was just so absolutely insane. I knew that there was no way in hell I could go to that school, and that there had to be another way. As excited I was to have just had a prolific divine channel of a message come through, I was also blown as shit, because I thought, great, now I definitely have no idea what to do with my life and what is going on. I remember talking to my mom and my family, and luckily they were really supportive, and they were like, well, you'll figure it out, maybe just take some time off and work. And the next thing to happen was a friend came over for Christmas, and we decided to do a tarot reading. And this was also a bit new to me. It was one of the first times anyone had ever pulled cards for me. We did this whole reading where one of the large questions and the theme that I was asking about was what to do, with this next chunk of my life. It was telling a story of my life, and it was saying what I was passionate about, and how, I was here to make an impact, and here to be a trailblazer and a healer and a guide of spirituality. And I remember pulling this card that was saying, okay, well, what would happen if you ignore these parts of yourself, and if you don't follow the path truest to you? And the next card that we pulled was the world, and it was upside down. So it was a picture of the earth, and it was flipped upside down. And the message came through very clearly again, that if you continue to ignore who you are, your whole world will be upside down. So literally within a few weeks, I looked up Reiki and energy healing and different modalities that represented this interest in health and healing that I had. And I found a school in the Southwest that looked amazing, that I really wanted to go to. It was a trade school. I realized I had a friend that lived in Arizona, and when I contacted him, he lived 10 minutes away from the school. I organized a visit to go tour the school and stay with him, and within a few months later, I was attending that school. It could have been really easy to think, that's so far from home. I've never lived outside of my house, nonetheless across the country. I don't know anyone there. What if I don't like this school? What if I enter a pit of depression and I can't get out? What if I fail? What if I don't like this? This is always my dream, and what if I don't even like the dream? Then what does that say about my identity? There are so many fears that came through for me, But I have to tell you, it comes down to this. If you aren't willing to try out of fear, think about what your life would feel like without that effort ever being given. Oftentimes we receive signs and signals and moments of inspiration that direct us. However, we're really afraid of what that surfaces if we follow through. So that's the thing. Are you really not hearing your inner voice? Or are you just not receiving its messages and acting on it? And if you feel like you're not even hearing anything, if you're feeling completely just like barricaded by these walls and don't even have a sense of self anymore, you have to first make time to listen. So similar to me, when I was in this distracted, like socially filled way, there was no way that I could actually tune into what I wanted because there was no introspection there. You need to make the room and the silence for that to come through. So that means learning how to say no. That means learning how to be in solitude more and doing the things that feel relieving rather than like obligations. Every time you are people pleasing, you are getting more separated from who you are and pleasing yourself. You have to be willing to hear what comes up when you get quiet. You have to be willing to make changes that feel scary in honor of growth. You have to be willing to not follow the status quo and be the weirdo sometimes, because for as long as you're always trying to blend in, you're never going to be able to feel like your most unique self. And this is where confidence comes from. Confidence comes from seeing that you can provide for yourself, that you know who you are, and that no matter what happens, you're always going to be okay because you have this connection with an innermost part of you that no one or nothing, no situation or event can take away. So thank you guys so much. I love you. If you need anything, you know I'm always here for you, and feel free to drop some love, drop some questions for our next video together, okay?